Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 253 of the Wannabe Clutter Free podcast. On today's episode, we are diving into a topic that affects every single one of us, and it is money. I know we don't really talk about money, and lots of us were raised to not discuss money, so we're not going to be talking about how much people make or things like that. But it is the day after tax day in the US, right? This episode comes out on April 16th. So, whether you filed your taxes early or you hit that submit button at the last possible second, now is a good time to at least talk about our finances and about how financial clutter shows up in our lives and how it often mirrors the physical clutter in our home. So, this episode is part of a series that I am starting where I'm talking about the 10 major areas in your life and how they are affected by clutter, whether it's our physical clutter, our mental clutter, emotional, or digital clutter. These 10 areas help you create an empowering life if we can get them right. And today we are tackling the second E in our acronym of empowering. It is a 10-letter word, and each letter stands for one of these 10 areas. And so we're going to be talking about finding financial freedom. So, freedom from our clutter when it comes to our earning and our spending. So, if you've ever wondered how the way you spend money ties into the clutter in your closet, in your kitchen, or your calendar, well, stick around because you are going to love this episode. But before we dive in, I just want to say a quick thank you to you for being with me today. If you enjoy this episode, please take a second to follow or subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Again, this is the start of a 10-part series and it is going to be spread out because I do have lots of very, very interesting interviews coming up, but these solo episodes will be focusing on these 10 areas. So make sure you don't miss one. Go ahead and subscribe. And if you have any comments or episodes or just want to connect, well, come on over to Instagram. I am at Wannabe Clutter Free, or join our private Facebook group, the Wannabe Minimalist Family, so that you can join in the conversation we're having over there as well. And remember, you can also grab the show notes and the links for this episode by heading to wannabeclutterfree.com/253. Again, that's wannabeclutterfree.com/the number 253, where I will also have links to other episodes that I have had with guests that have talked about how to spend and how finances are affected by our clutter, or our clutter is affected by our finances, and vice versa. So go ahead and check those out as well if you want some more listening. All right, let's get into it. So I want to start with looking at what financial clutter really looks like. And I'm going to start with a truth bomb here for you, because most of us aren't just financially cluttered, we're financially distracted. What in the world does that mean? Well, just like physical clutter hides in our junk drawers and in that random corner in the garage or under the piles, all the things you have, financial clutter hides in the subscriptions we forget to cancel, in items we bought but we never used, in clothes that still has tags on them, in pantry items that got buried way in the back and we forgot to make a meal with them, so they went bad and we have to throw them out. Impulse buys when we're stressed or we're bored, or buying just so we can feel better about something. According to The Motley Fool, the average American spends $314 on impulse purchases per month. $314. That's nearly $4,000 a year. And most of us can't even remember what we bought. I mean, heck, sometimes I can't even remember what we had for dinner last Tuesday, let alone what I bought 2 months ago on a random Tuesday when I wasn't feeling very good, right? Now, I have thankfully worked on this a lot in my life, so I have cut down a lot on those impulse buys. I cannot say that I'm perfect. I still get wrapped up in them sometimes. But once we can take a look, it really will help us to understand that all of the stuff in our homes, I'm sure you have heard this before, well, it used to be money. Things don't magically appear unless you are randomly getting them off a curb or from a free site or your Buy Nothing group on Facebook. You're spending your cold, hard cash, the things that you spend, you trade your life for, you trade your time and your life for the money, to work, to get the money to buy the things that are in your home. And sometimes we get that equation backwards because we buy things as a treat because we want to feel better, or we just had a really crappy day or whatever. Somebody made us feel bad. So we go out and we buy something because we like that high. But then it turns into the physical clutter that's in our home, right? So then we're stressed out because we have physical clutter and we can't seem to get ahead because our house is always a mess, but it's filled with the stuff that we don't actually want, but we wanted it at the time and we bought it because we thought it would make us feel better, but it doesn't make us feel better because it's so temporary. So we've got to get back down to the core of what we really want. We're financially distracted. We're taking our eyes off the long game and what really matters to us. And we are getting caught up in the very short cycles of what do I need to feel good today, right? So we really need to dig into the why as to what is it we really want in our life so that we can create these sustainable goals for ourselves and actually really track them and stop getting so distracted. Okay. So that's number one. I want us to figure out where is our money even going and understand that we can stop these impulse buys. We really need to put a pause on those. So one of my favorite ways to do that is to shop with a list. Let's keep it super simple. We do not even have to make things really difficult for us. I remember one time I heard a story about how people would put their credit cards in a block of ice. They would freeze them in their freezer so as to keep themselves from spending money on their credit card. Now, here's the crazy thing. My credit card number is memorized. I can buy something on my credit card any gosh darn time I want, even if it were frozen in there. And likely, if you froze it in a block of ice, guess what ice is? It's clear. You could probably look through it nowadays and buy something on there. I guess this was maybe the time before everything was online shopping where you just needed the number. But people will go through to extreme situations and try to set up these big barriers to keep themselves from spending. And if that is something you need to do, then I'm on board. But I think we can set up easier goals for ourselves, right? So, one thing, shop from a list. Another thing you can do is you can go to the store less often. Also, try to limit yourself. If you are a big Amazon shopper, one thing that works really well for me is to have one day where I buy things on Amazon. Don't allow yourself to buy something anytime you want. I know it's difficult because we all have the Amazon app on our phones, which are in our pockets or in our purses, and they're right on us all the time. So you could be out at the park and be like, oh, our Frisbee just broke. We need another one. Pop it in the Amazon cart. Go ahead. One click buy. You're not even putting it in the cart. Amazon has made it so easy. You don't even have to go to the shopping cart. You literally can just buy it with one click. So what we need to do is just set up a few barriers for ourselves. My favorite way to cut back on these impulse buys is the less often you shop, the less impulse buys you will make. Set up a few barriers. Maybe it's one day a week you allow yourself to buy the things on Amazon, or it's one day a week that you're running your errands and you're going to the grocery store or to Target or to wherever it is that you're shopping, so that you only spend money on that one day. And what happens for me, this is why this barrier works for me, is because I hate spending money. I am an innate saver, although I do spend money, but I don't like spending large amounts of money in one fell swoop. So what this does for me is when I'm at the store and that bill is going to go over the 200 mark, right? If I only shop once a week or something, and I have this one thing, I'm not going to put that in my cart. Or as it's getting rung up, I can sometimes, if I see something on the cart that is an impulse buy, I can be like, you know what? I don't actually really need that. Can you put that back? Especially when that number gets a little bit higher. Now, I know it's all relative. I could buy that thing if I wanted to, but these kind of barriers help me. So it's all about knowing yourself and what motivates you or demotivates you. And so if I can keep that number down, I make it a game for myself. Can I keep this under a certain amount? And that way I know I'm not going to put these impulse buys on there because I'm wanting to keep the number lower if I can. Does that make sense? I hope so. If it doesn't, reach out to me on Instagram. We'll chit chat about it. I'd love to connect. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a few options, things like quality over quantity, the emotional side of spending, and then we're going to get into growing our wealth. I do want to talk about that a little bit because there are things we can do instead of buying the random stuff in our house. I want us to go from being a consumer to an investor. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. All right, welcome back. Let's get into quality over quantity. I know it's something that a lot of people do talk about, but I wanted to talk about a mindset shift that's been a game changer for me. And it is that it is okay to spend money, But when I spend money, I want to spend it on something that I love and I actually use. So let's take fast fashion or capsule wardrobes for an example. Now, for those of you that have been listening to this show for a while or have been following along, you know that I love a good capsule wardrobe. I did an entire summit on it last year, and I just love this idea of being able to mix and match my clothes and get more use out of everything that's in my closet. I also traveled Europe last summer for 1 month with only 14 pieces. So while I don't consider myself a fashionista or someone that really is even that skilled in putting an outfit together, a capsule wardrobe allows me a little bit of fun and creativity where I can start to get higher quality pieces and work on them in different combinations. And I just enjoy that puzzle aspect of it. When it comes to fashion and trends and fast fashion, do I like trends? Sometimes. I don't like all the trends. I do like some trends. For instance, I have a great pair of wide leg jeans that by the time this comes out, I mean, who knows, right? Everything goes in and out of trend so fast now with our social media cycle and TikTok and all of the different fast fashions. But when I bought them, they were on trend, right? Skinny jeans were suddenly out and these big wide leg jeans were in. I actually tried them on through a service called Armoire. And so I was able to rent these jeans and I wore them to a podcast conference and I got a ton of compliments on them and I loved how they fit and felt. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy these. So I ended up getting those jeans and I love them. But does that mean I got rid of all my skinny jeans? No. So the key is that I work in trends when they work for me, but I limit them. I only have one pair of wide leg regular denim jeans and I have one pair of dark skinny jeans. I chose quality over quantity, right? They're not cheap jeans. They're high quality denim. They're going to last me for a while. I didn't buy 5 pairs of wide leg jeans just because they were in, and I didn't throw out all my skinny jeans because supposedly they were out. By the way, apparently they're back in again. See, this is what I mean by that kind of the yo-yo back and forth, and I'm suffering whiplash when I think about fashion. So what I do is I don't follow trends. I look to see and get inspiration from what's out there, but then I actively pursue what I like, what fits my body, and what makes me feel good when I leave the house. Compliments do help for sure because they help tell you you're on the right path. Because I found that generally I will get compliments on my clothes when I feel great in them and that I'm exuding that confidence. That's when I get the compliments. The point is that you want to buy intentionally and not reactively. Now, a capsule wardrobe is a great metaphor for financial clarity. And here is why. Because you buy less, but you love more, right? So you get to spend with purpose, not with panic. So according to the World Bank, the global fashion industry produces 92 million tons of waste annually. Waste. That's not even all the clothing. That is the waste. Fast fashion may be cheap up front, but it is expensive for our wallets and our planets in the long run. Plus, it doesn't last. So we're buying these fast fashion pieces. They're not even lasting through an entire season. I mean, oftentimes, especially if you're getting the really cheap online stuff, it's lasting a couple washes. It's almost like single use, which is so terrible for all the materials and the resources that go into it, not to mention the fact that so many of these designs are being ripped off from individuals that are actually creatives and putting these things out there into the world. So we'll get into that topic on another day. You can kind of tell who I'm talking about and what I don't like. But the idea here is that even with our money, we want to use our money in a way that feels good to us. So we want to basically put our money where our mouth is. So it is perfectly fine to buy things, but I really try to buy quality over quantity because the quality is going to last longer. There is another little fun saying of buy once, cry once. And this has been a tough one for me because remember in the last segment, I told you that I am a saver, not a spender. So for me, it's really hard to spend a large chunk of money in one transaction unless I can see the value there. So I do really try to find quality pieces that are reasonably priced, but that will stand the test of time and will last a long time if possible, so that when skinny jeans are out, they can just hang out in my closet and wait for the moment to come back into the spotlight. Or I can just say screw it and wear it anyway, because that's what I do, because I love them. So pick what works for you. Don't worry so much about trends, but go ahead and if you are someone that wants trends, find the one piece that's going to work into your capsule, into your closet, and incorporate it in. But don't feel like you have to get an entire new wardrobe. Or what's another one? Oh, like Christmas decor, right? Holiday decor. How many people go out and get all new holiday decor every year or lots of new pieces, right? We don't have to follow these trends. Let's pick what works for us and be diligent and be purposeful when we're actually picking in the first place so that we love these things and so that they last the test of time. That is going to help our wallet so much. It's definitely going to help our pocketbook. We're going to spend less money over time because we won't be investing in the cheap things that we have to replace as often. Okay? All right. Let's get into the next segment, which is the emotional side of spending. Because finances, I got to tell you, it's one of the most emotionally fraught areas of our life. I would say that this is one of the biggest categories that fits into that emotional clutter. We all have different thoughts and ideas and limiting beliefs and fun beliefs about money. But it really can be overwhelming when we start to really think about what is it? How do we feel about it? What does money bring up for you? Take a breath and sit with this for a second. It's going to be okay. Again, I really like to journal about money and kind of figure out how I feel about it. What were some of my beliefs that I learned growing up? I heard the other day that actually, this was on the podcast as well. So I'll link to this episode, but it was that our money beliefs are actually pretty solidified by the time we are 7 years old. That's crazy. So apparently, you are learning all of your money beliefs and the things that you feel about money by the time you are 7 from your parents. It's kind of scary. Scary myself as a parent with someone who is older than 7, with a daughter that's older than 7, because that means apparently I've already screwed her up. So, of course, we can work through it, but you just also then have to be a little bit more diligent about overcoming any of these negative beliefs or these hurdles that you've set up along the way. And just know that you're not the only one you're having to deconstruct these on. You also have to deconstruct them now for your children if they are over 7, which I'm right there in that same boat with you. But I want us to think about some of the ways we spend. So if we don't have our financial house in order and we're still spending emotionally, then we're spending because we're overwhelmed, we're bored, we're stressed, or we're just trying to keep up with the highlight reel on Instagram from all of these people we see. And we don't actually get to see the real, all of it, like the 100% real, authentic people, right? We don't know what's in other people's bank accounts. We don't know if they're returning the things that we see them wearing on Instagram. We don't know if they just rented out the Airbnb and they're pretending it's their house. So there are so many things that we don't know. But the problem is we then just put our own beliefs on top of what we see without really investigating to see how it really truly is. We just assume that it's real and then we put these negative emotions on ourselves. Okay, I want you to take a breath again. I know this gets really overwhelming and stressful because here's the deal. Spending to fix your feelings will only add to your clutter, both physical clutter in your home and financially weigh you down. It makes it difficult to save money when we're spending money. You can't really do the two at the same time. If you're spending, you're cutting out from what you're saving. And I'm not saying that you can't spend money, but I want us to be intentional about it. I want us to know, why are we spending this? What is it going to do for us? And have a little bit more insight and reasoning into why we're spending our money. So instead of just spending it to spend it, I encourage my coaching clients to pause and ask, is this purchase a solution or is it a distraction? That's one of the best ways to think about it. Is it a solution? Is it helping me? Is it getting me closer to my goal? Is it solving a need? Is it fulfilling something that I want, need, or love? It's okay to buy things because you want them if you are being purposeful in that decision. Or is it a distraction? Have I had a really rough go of it and I am just exhausted and I need a pick-me-up or I feel envious of someone, so I'm just buying this thing because I think it's going to help me feel better? and I'm just distracting myself. Okay? So again, that question, is this purchase a solution or a distraction? It's not about depriving yourself. It's about empowering yourself. Okay? You can still buy things, but let's not go into debt for them, right? Let's not feel shame every time we open our credit card statement. Let's not bury the credit card statement, bury our head in the sand. Let's not make those minimum payments only. Let's not pay attention to what's happening with our dollars because we're afraid and we've just gotten overwhelmed and we've dug ourselves into a hole. If we're there, we can get out. We'll talk about that. But we want to feel empowered, right? Know why we're spending our money and really stand behind it. Okay, let's take one more quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about growing our wealth and clearing the clutter along the way. All right, see you in a second. Okay, welcome back. All right, so in this section, I want us to talk about what happens if we take that $314 a month. Remember how I talked about that at the beginning? That's the average people spend on impulse buys. What happens if we take that and instead of spending it on impulse buys, you put that money into somewhere where it's going to grow? Whether it's something like a high yield savings account or an index fund, or your 401k if you haven't maxed that out, or a traditional IRA if you haven't maxed that out. There are so many ways we can invest our money instead. Okay, so I know a lot of people don't like math, but here's what would happen if you took that $314 a month and you invested it. Over 10 years with a 7% average return, you would have over $48,000 in 10 years. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. And right now, most people are just spending that $314 on frivolous stuff that they can't even remember what they spent it on. So can you imagine if you took that $314 and you had a little bit of discipline, in 10 years, you could have $48,000. Now, of course, I am not a financial planner. I am not giving you financial advice. I'm not telling you where to invest that money. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if you did have that money and you had an average 7% return, you could have over $48,000. So speak with your investment people, speak with somebody at your bank, go online, do some research. There's lots of people out there that can help you with this. According to NerdWallet, only 36% of Americans say they invest outside of their retirement plan, which means a lot of us are missing out on opportunities for long-term financial peace. There was another statistic I heard the other day that the majority of people wouldn't be able to cover a $2,000 emergency if they needed to. They don't have $2,000 to spend on an emergency. Their car breaks down, something happens, a medical bill comes up that they were unexpecting, kid breaks an arm or something like that. These kinds of things are very possible. And so I think we lose a lot of peace of mind when we don't have our finances in order. This is what I would like us to do. I'd like us to take this $314 that people spend on average on impulse buys, and instead of buying a bunch of crap we don't need, apparently that is my word of the day, sorry, but instead of spending it on stuff we don't need, we don't want, we won't even remember buying, go ahead and put it somewhere where it's going to help you in the long term, in the long run. High yield savings accounts right now, you can get those at 4%. Super safe, FDIC insured. You don't have to gamble with it. It's not going in the stock market. Super simple. And you can open online accounts all day long with these higher returns. So I'll leave a link to my favorite one. We use Betterment. Again, you have the opportunity to use whatever you want. I'm just going to tell you what we use. This is not financial advice because I am not qualified or certified to give you that. But do know that this is something that will help you, right? Knowing that where your money goes, it's going to be very beneficial and extremely peaceful for your state of mind. Okay, so just like decluttering your home frees up space and energy, getting your finance in order is going to free up options for you so that you are going to have more opportunity, more freedom, more choice in your life, which I think really is one of the things that can give us the most freedom, right? Freedom and choice, they go hand in hand. All right, and then finally, I want to talk about things you can do this week, because one of my favorite things about this podcast is to help get you to take action. Because if you just listen to me, you're not actually going to make a difference. I love that you're here. I absolutely love that you listen to this show, but let's use your time here to be purposeful, right? Okay. So number one, I'm going to give you 3 things I want you to do this week to declutter your finances and get things in order. I want you to start tracking where your money went last month. You don't need a fancy tool. Just look at your bank statement, get out a highlighter, and highlight what felt intentional, and then a different color, highlight what didn't feel intentional. Go back through and be like, what was that random meal out? Or did we get a DoorDash when I could have spent 5 minutes and gone and picked it up myself? Could I make easier meals at home that don't take a ton of cleanup so that I'm not spending as much money out and things like that? So figure out what it is, not to say that you can't go out to eat, but can we be intentional about it instead of just doing the knee-jerk reactions? All right, so that's number one. Track where your money went last month. If you want to get fancy, go ahead and do a spreadsheet on your computer. You can use Google Sheets, you can use numbers, you can use Excel. If you want to get even fancier, well, go ahead and get an app on your phone. Use something like You Need a Budget to help track where you're spending. It doesn't have to be fancy, but if you're down for it, it'll make your life easier going forward, and you'll be able to look back and have records going forward so you can see your progress, which does often help me continue to reach my goals. All right, number 2, I want you to cancel one subscription or one recurring charge that you are no longer using. Something that we do in our home is we actually swap out our streaming services. Now, I know a lot of you, it took a little bit for my husband to get on board because he's like, it's $15. Okay, I get it. $15 a month isn't a lot, but there are countless numbers of streaming services. And there's only so many hours in the day that we actually have time to watch any of these shows. So my recommendation is 1 month, do Netflix, watch all your Netflix shows. The next month, do HBO, watch your HBO shows. Just finished White Lotus. Season 3 wasn't my favorite of the 3, but it was still good. Then the next month, do your Disney Plus, then your Hulu. This way you get to watch the shows you want, but you're not spending $100, which the point was cut cable, save money, right? Now we're spending more money than we were when we had cable and all the channels because we have all these piecemeal ones. So pick your favorite 1 or 2, cancel the others, and then build up, what you want to watch. So if you want a way to track things to watch, I use an app called Rate. I will link to it in the show notes. It's R8, and it helps me create a watch list for all the shows I want to watch. It tells me what service they're on, and it is super helpful to be able to know, like, oh, hey, I've got like 8 shows on Netflix I want to watch. Okay, so maybe that should be the one we sign up for next month. Or you know what? I'm just going to pick one. I've got Paramount Plus right now, and actually I like Paramount Plus. We just got that one. Our daughter's into Survivor. So that's the one we're watching right now. But let's say we finish all 48 seasons of Survivor and we're ready to swap it out. Okay, great. I'm going to swap that one out and I'm going to get something else to put on there. So this is one of the ways that we can do that. We can cancel one subscription, one recurring charge. And, one way we can do that simply is with all of our streaming services. Okay. And then the third thing I want you to do is I want you to make a capsule budget. Now, how fun is this? It's kind of like a capsule wardrobe, but I want you to choose 3 or 5 categories where you want to intentionally spend, right? That might be eating out. It might be travel. It might be books. It might be skincare. The idea here is that it's not everything, right? We're choosing a couple categories and we are going to set a budget and spend freely there and then pause everywhere else. So this way we can see, like, maybe I'm spending money in a place where I don't really value the things that are there, but I've just been spending money there for a long time. But it's not about deprivation. I'm not saying a no spend challenge. That's really hard for a lot of people, especially if you've never been on a budget before. So let's pick a few categories where I'm going to allow ourselves to just spend money there this next month or 2, but I'm going to try to limit everything else so that I don't feel deprived, but I'm still saving money. Okay? So that is your capsule budget. All right, so those are the 3 things I want you to do. Track where your money went last month, cancel one subscription, and make a capsule budget. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed by both your stuff and your spending, just know that you are not alone. You don't need to be perfect. We just need to be more aware. And remember, a clutter-free life isn't about buying less. It's about owning better. So thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend who could use a little money and mindset declutter right now. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I am super excited to bring you the other 9 major life categories that make up that empowering acronym, and they will be coming out very soon. But that's it for me this week. Next week, I'll be back here with a very interesting conversation with Tara Bramer from House Peace. We will be talking about using psychology to manage our clutter, reduce our stress, and create personalized organization systems, so you do not want to miss that one. Until next time, take care, keep things simple, work on curbing your impulse buys this week, and remember, I believe in you. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wannabe Clutter Free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.